The end has come. Everything you knew is gone. Only the truth remains in the fire. The collapse of the invisible border was not a sudden collapse, but a slow departure from the truth. Faith was forgotten, replaced by empty promises, and the voice of truth was drowned out by the incessant noise of the crowds. And when man began to believe he no longer had any need for heaven, when he declared himself the sole master of his own destiny, the very heavens themselves began to move. What had been sealed away since the foundation of the world began to be revealed. The seals have been broken. Trumpets echoed beyond time. Judgment did not come as a surprise, but as a consequence. Fire would fall from above. The sea would turn to blood. The earth, weary of bearing the weight of human rebellion, would finally know the power of him who reigns forever. The sands of time have been measured. The cycle is drawing to a close, and nothing can halt the fulfillment of all that has been decreed. Creation itself had already begun to show the signs. The earth, in its agony, became entirely unrecognizable. Great forests fell like silent, suffering martyrs, and the rivers carried only poison instead of life. All the cities glowed brightly with their artificial lights. Towering monuments of glass and steel only masked the profound darkness within human hearts. While skyscrapers reached for the heavens, the souls of men sank deeper into the abyss. Borders were swallowed by endless wars, not just by gunpowder, but by violent clashes of ideas and identities, wounded by hate. The city's sound became a hollow echo of pervasive fear and utter desolation. In dead-end alleys, the cries of hungry children were drowned out by the glow of giant screens that glorified heads of state to blind followers. They loudly preached the virtues of modernity, yet they walked callously upon the utter destitution of a long-forgotten people. Humanity proudly crowned itself, boldly declaring its own absolute and total independence. God was reduced to a mere mockery, discarded as a dusty relic of the past that could no longer fit into a supposedly progressive, enlightened world. Where there was worship, only abandonment remained. Where there was sacrifice, only wreckage was left. Exhausted, the earth screamed. The sea roared a lament of pain, and the skies ignited in shades of blood at day's end, serving as a visual warning that the cycle was about to close. False leaders have taken the spotlight, seducing the people with the promise of a world free from God under the reins of absolute technological control. They shouted to the cameras, "The era of total autonomy is here. We are our own gods," amidst the deafening applause of blind crowds who believed they had finally conquered the heavens. Ego became the new law. Integrity was replaced by systemic corruption, and faith was cast aside like a useless burden.
The throne room, the Lamb, and the sealed book.
High above the drifting clouds, the vast sky kept a watchful eye. The firmament trembled, bathed in a shimmering, radiant golden light. A silent flash of brilliance streaked across the fabric of eternity. Right in the center of an ocean of crystal and fire, the throne of the Lord shone with absolute and radiant glory. All around him, a vast multitude of angels stood in silent, reverent adoration. Mighty seraphim humbly veiled their faces with shimmering wings. Cherubim sang a melody so deep that time itself paused before its majesty. And there, in the center of that glorious heavenly assembly, the Lamb stood. Eternal marks on his hands bore witness to redemption and justice. His presence radiated love, but also absolute authority. A voice, like the sound of 1,000 thunders, echoed through eternity. Man has corrupted what was entrusted to him. The earth groans under the weight of his iniquity. Michael, prince of the heavenly hosts, interceded. Lord Almighty, is it your will that the judgment begin? From the throne came the firm and irrevocable answer. The hour has come. The book opens wide. At last, the hidden truth is revealed. The time for the seals to open and the horsemen to arrive is here. The Lamb stepped forth from the host of angels. He held the scroll, sealed tight with 7 seals. In that moment, all of heaven was lit. profound, absolute silence descended on everything. No wing stirred, no sound could be heard. Only heavy, breathless expectation remained. At last, the first seal was broken. A brilliant, blinding light streaked across the vast void. A pale horse appeared, its rider descending to earth, bearing crown and bow, conquering not by force, but by subtle, cunning deception. Back on Earth, a remarkably charismatic figure began his rapid ascent to power. Flags of peace were raised, nations united, and the masses cheered the man who ended the war. Yet a cold, sinister darkness lurked in his eyes, a new beginning for us all, or so we thought. Within their eyes, one could see a sense of relief, yet there was no true conviction to be found. And yet those spoken words, while heavy with the weight of hope, remained as fragile as a passing breeze, utterly unable to restrain the inevitable fate that had already been decreed within the halls of heaven. High above the mortal world, seated upon the eternal throne, the second seal was finally broken. A piercing sound tore through the firmament like an invisible blade, shattering the silence of eternity. Its echo did not linger in the sky. It resonated deep within the heart of humanity. Then another horse appeared, red as living fire, like freshly spilled blood. Your knight bore no promises, but held only the absolute authority to strip away all that humanity once believed it had truly conquered. Peace has been taken from the face of the earth, proclaimed a celestial angelic voice, firm, devoid of any anger, and without a moment of hesitation. And in that very instant, the world was transformed. The language of diplomacy gave way to the harsh, clashing sound of weapons. Men have once again taken up their swords, both modern and ancient, invisible and deeply ideological. Explosions lit up the dark horizon like a series of false, flickering dawns. Nations that had signed treaties yesterday were now tearing each other apart in blind fury. The very ground trembled beneath the weight of tanks, missiles, and fleeing, panicked crowds. The air grew heavy and thick, fully saturated with the pungent scent of war. From his vantage point high above, Miguel silently watched. His weary eyes beheld the endless, tragic centuries of human repetition. The blood of the innocent has once again spilled out to cover the entire floor of all of our creation. An angel standing at his side replied without a single hint of emotion, "True justice will never ever retreat from its path. It has only just now begun." Then the third seal was opened. The brightness of the sky darkened. A black horse advanced, carrying a pair of scales. It was not just scarcity, it was inequality raised to its ultimate form. The angel proclaimed, "A measure of wheat for a denarius, and do not damage the oil or the wine." The entire global system collapsed, and the financial markets crumbled in a mere matter of hours, while our currency lost all of its meaning. Men fought viciously over the smallest scraps, while wealth, once considered untouchable, rotted away in locked vaults. And hunger eventually crossed over all walls, titles, and borders. There was no longer any distinction between the rich and the poor, only between those who still possessed something and those who had already lost everything. In a forgotten alley, far away from cameras and empty speeches, a mother held her son's cold, lifeless body. Her eyes were dry, because even her tears had finally run out. In her hand, she held nothing but a single piece of stale bread. "Where is God hiding now?" Their voice rose, a sharp accusation and a desperate plea. Then the fourth seal broke. A pale, sickly green horse rode the howling winds, with Hades trailing like a dark, living shadow. Wherever it passed, life retreated. The birds fell into a sudden silence, and all the laughter faded away. Great cities were transformed into barren deserts, while fertile fields turned to ash. Sickness, death, and fear advanced together as one. High in the sky, the angels stood in formation. Archangel Michael slowly lowered his sword. The earth is emptying of all life. Then the fifth seal was finally broken. An ancient haunting cry rose from deep beneath the sacred altar. Voices long silenced on earth echoed through the vastness of eternity. The souls of all the faithful ones cried out to heaven, "How long must we wait, O Lord? How long must we wait until you finally judge and avenge our spilled blood upon all those who currently dwell upon the face of the earth?" And the divine answer came back to them, wrapped in both perfect justice and infinite patience. "You must rest a little longer until the full number of your fellow servants who are destined to testify with their own blood is finally complete." Then the sixth seal was opened. All of creation began to convulse. A massive earthquake shook the entire world to its core. The mountains shifted from their places. The sun turned black, just like dark sackcloth. The moon turned a deep blood-red color. Stars fell like unripe figs, shaken loose by a violent wind, tearing through the vast sky and the very conscience of humanity. Kings, rulers, and generals scrambled to take refuge in deep caves. Trembling, they cried out in terror, "Please, hide us from the face of him who sits upon the throne, and from the burning wrath of the Lamb." High in heaven, the Lamb looked down. His expression remained serene, yet his eyes carried a deep sorrow and a sense of absolute authority. Mercy was offered, but it was rejected. Now, the truth would arrive like a consuming fire. Then, everything fell into a sudden silence. The air stood completely still. Time itself seemed to be suspended. Even the angels remained in absolute silence for nearly half an hour. It was that final heavy moment just before the inevitable arrived. It was the held breath before the great trumpets finally sounded. All of heaven remained in a state of profound silence. Millions of angels stood completely motionless before the throne. Divine light shimmered upon the sea of glass, while lightning pulsed rhythmically like a living, beating breath. Right in the center, the Lamb slowly raised his gaze. Before the eternal throne, the silence was absolute. 7 angels took their positions, motionless as living pillars, each holding a golden trumpet forged before time itself. These were no ordinary instruments. No creature had heard their sound since creation was established. The very firmament seemed to hold its breath. Then, a voice cut through the sky. It came from nowhere, yet from everywhere at once. It was like the roar of many waters. "Sound the trumpets. Let the earth hear the sound of judgment." The first angel raised the trumpet to his lips. When that primordial sound was finally released, it didn't just echo across the void. It tore through the fabric of dimensions, shattering the ancient veil between heaven and earth. Immediately, a torrent of fire, blood, and heavy hail descended upon the planet. It was no ordinary rain, but a relentless, devastating onslaught of divine judgment. Vast, ancient forests burned like torches, fertile fields turned to ash, and the mountains began to smoke. From above, Michael watched in silence. An angel by his side asked in a hushed voice, "Why do men remain silent in the face of punishment?" Michael replied, "Because their pride still speaks louder than the heavens." On earth, people ran through the streets in despair. So what on earth is happening here? No human explanation could capture the sheer magnitude of what was unleashed upon us. Then, the second angel finally sounded his great trumpet. Something truly colossal stirred high up in the dark skies. A burning mass, like a mountain torn from the firmament, plunged deep into the ocean. The vast sea turned to blood. Gigantic waves surged forward, hungrily devouring all the coastal cities. The great ships were shattered like nothing more than fragile wood. Along the ruined coast, the fishermen fell to their knees, completely unable to escape. The crimson waters mirrored the raging fire in the sky above. A survivor whispered, then broke into bitter, heavy tears. "The sea is gone forever." Then the third angel sounded his loud, echoing trumpet. A great burning star came streaking across the vastness of space, and its name was known as Wormwood. When it struck the rivers and the springs, it poisoned everything that it touched. The water turned bitter and foul. Many perished from a terrible thirst. Surrounded by waters they could no longer drink. The angels gazed down upon the suffering in profound sorrow. There was still a final window of time for repentance. The gift of love was offered to them, yet they chose the path of greed. Then the fourth angel sounded his trumpet. The sky lost a significant portion of its radiant light. The sun grew dark, the moon turned deathly pale, and a third of the stars vanished from the heavens. A deadly, biting cold spread rapidly across the entire planet. Amidst the smoldering ruins, a lone prophet finally raised his voice. "The Lord is still waiting for you. You must repent now, while there is still breath left in your lungs." Suddenly, a voice retorted from the dark shadows. "Where is this God that you speak of? Tell me, where is he hiding now?" The weary prophet slowly bowed his head. A single tear fell down and mingled with the cold ashes. High in the sky, a great eagle crossed the vast firmament and cried out with a thunderous voice. Woe, woe, and thrice woe to all those who dwell upon the face of the earth for the terrible sounds of the trumpets that are still yet to come. Then the fifth angel slowly raised his golden trumpet. The sound tore through the heavy, suffocating silence like a jagged open wound. The gates of the bottomless pit were finally thrown wide open. From deep within the earth, a thick and truly suffocating smoke began to rise. Out from the darkness, terrible creatures emerged, with noisy wings and faces that closely resembled humans. Ruling over them was a fallen king, Abaddon, the dark angel of the abyss. They tormented all those who did not carry the seal of the Almighty upon their foreheads. People screamed in agony, begging for death, yet death fled from their reach. Amidst the chaos, a woman trembled, clutching her child in a dark cave. Is this truly the end? No, my son, this is the beginning of the end. Then the sixth angel sounded his trumpet. The great Euphrates River dried up and vanished. From the dry riverbed, 4 ancient, powerful angels were freed. Behind them, a vast army of horsemen in flaming breastplates surged like an unstoppable tide of ruin. The death toll rose, scattering like dust in a violent wind. High above, Michael watched the carnage in silence. A third of humanity perished, yet their hardened hearts did not repent. He closed his eyes. When he spoke again, it wasn't with anger. Judgment is not mere vengeance. It is the inevitable harvest of all that has been sown since the very beginning. The thick smoke from the dark abyss began to slowly and steadily dissipate into the air. The earth, now completely covered in gray ash, settled into a state of profound and silent mourning. High in the heavens, the seventh angel finally raised his golden trumpet. Time itself seemed to hang suspended in the void. The Lamb gazed down upon the broken earth below. There is much more yet to come, for this war shall not be confined to the surface of the earth. It will surely reach into the heavens above. The battle in the heavens. Michael against the dragon. Lightning tore violently across the vast celestial horizon. The thunderous sound of beating wings began to swell in the air. The heavenly hosts moved to take their designated positions. Thousands of angels stood in formation, their armor reflecting the brilliant divine splendor. Moving ahead of the others, Michael stepped forward into the fray. Held firmly within his hands, a flaming sword glowed with a powerful, ancient light. The enemy has finally risen, a lone cherub solemnly announced. Emerging from the dark abyss between the stars, a colossal shadow slowly approached. It was the great dragon, the ancient adversary, accompanied by his rebel angels. "I will take the throne, and the light shall serve me forever," roared the dragon. Michael replied without hesitation, "The light belongs to him who is, and your fall shall be eternal." The confrontation was immediate. A bolt of lightning tore through the sky. Steel swords clashed. The great dragon unleashed a torrent of fire, but Michael surged like lightning, striking the beast down with divine power. High upon the throne, the Almighty watched the battle in absolute eternal silence. Then the Lamb's voice resounded. "The time for purification has come. Let the accuser be cast out forever." With one final, decisive blow, Michael swept the heavens clean. The great dragon was cast down to earth, plunging through the dark void like a flaming falling star, followed by its entire wicked army. The heavens erupted in glorious, triumphant songs of victory, but far below, the earth shuddered at the force of the impact. The heavens were finally set free, but now, a terrible, living terror walked the earth in the flesh. The great dragon was cast down from the heavens and descended upon the earth in a state of absolute fury, fully aware that his remaining time is incredibly short. What you have just witnessed here today was merely the opening act, the first half of the coming apocalypse. The seals have been broken, the trumpets have sounded their call, and the war in heaven has been won. Yet the true tribulation for all of humanity is only now about to enter its most brutal phase. If you've made it this far, the prophetic clock is already echoing in your mind. History is repeating itself right before our eyes. Subscribe to the channel right now and turn on notifications so you don't miss the epic conclusion of this documentary. Part 2 will shake everything you thought you knew about the end. The celestial war has finally come to an end, but Earth's final judgment has only just begun to unfold. I will see you all in the next video.